would you feel if I invite you to look into your own shadows? Those parts of you that you judge, that you want to run away from, and that you don't want anyone else to know about. That sounds scary, doesn't it? I was so afraid of my own shadows that all I did was to deny, suppress, or hide them. But when my life forced me to look into my own shadows, that turned out to be the key that unlocks my whole power that I knew I had, but I did not have access to. So I said to myself, gosh, I wish someone had told me to look into my own shadows and the benefits it can bring. So that's what I'm doing right now. Before I integrated my shadows, I was a rule follower. I was born and raised in Japan. I went to good schools, got good grades, and got good jobs. And at the age of 25, I came to America to do my master's degree. And I got good jobs, got married, and had children. From the outside, I was a successful person. But on the inside, I was feeling lost and misaligned as to who I really was. I was a woman trying to be and trying to compete with men. I did not want anyone to notice that I was actually a woman. To me, being successful and sexual didn't go together, especially for women. It's okay for men to be sexual and successful because they could be studs and successful. But I hadn't heard people complimenting a woman and saying, wow, she is so successful and a slut. So I try to be non-sexy, non-sexual as much as possible, especially at work. I wore conservative clothing so that I could blend in. And I didn't talk about sex at all unless it was absolutely necessary. I was not a prude. However, sex is a taboo subject. So I didn't talk about it with my friends, or I didn't even discuss it with my romantic partners. This picture was taken a little over 3 years ago when I was just beginning my divorce. You can see it in my eyes that I was absolutely terrified. Because at that time, I believed divorce is a failure. Therefore, I was a failure. As I was going through divorce, I've come to realize that divorce is actually not a failure, but rather it is the end of a chapter of a relationship. That realization felt like heavy chains got lifted off my shoulders. And this experience opened me up to explore my other shadows and what might be hidden underneath them. I'm going to share with you the 4-step shadow integration process that I use for my clients, putting some examples of my own shadow integration journey for each of those steps. Step 1, be curious. Let your curiosity guide you. Allow yourself to do the things that your heart is desiring. I am not advocating those things that are dangerous or illegal. I am talking about those things that are the kinds of things that you used to love doing as a child, but stopped doing because you were told that those things were too silly or they make no money, that sort of thing. So for me, those were slowing down, do nothing, learning about love and sexuality, fostering and adopting a dog, taking self-defense and martial arts classes, and finally, taking belly dance lessons. Step 2, get to know the shadow. As you do those activities that your heart is desiring, closely observe your inner experiences. You will begin to understand what the shadow is, how it was created, and then what it does to you today. I was in my very first belly dance class. In a dance studio, I was looking at myself in a mirror, and I noticed that I actually looked sexy. And that was scary. I grew up hearing that women should be subservient to men because women are inferior to and weaker than men. So women should cook and clean in order to get men's financial and physical protection. Because I did not want to cook and clean 24/7, it was very important for me to be professionally successful. And now I realize that self-defense is a vital skill for me to learn, especially now as a single mother. That way, I can feel safe and then do whatever I want in my life without relying on man's protection. And then this is where I realized that it is not that I have to make a choice between being a successful woman or a sexy woman. There is actually the third option of being successful and a sexy woman. And that really felt like me. And now I know the steps to really be that person. Step 3, accept the shadow. Experience the shadow in your own way, or embody the shadow in a simulation in consensual context. Practicing self-defense stick fighting martial arts regularly for several months and practicing belly dancing regularly for several months, there was a time where I suddenly felt like all of the conservative clothing I used to wear stopped appealing to me. So I hired an image consultant to create completely new set of looks that represent who I am inside and outside. I had taken numerous real education and training in business, marketing, sales, finance, and personal development. And now I wanted to take a real education and a training in love, relationship, and particularly sex, because I knew reading magazines, watching porn, or talking to well-meaning friends that are as clueless as I was is not a real education. So I took 1 year plus intensive certification training in sex, love, and relationship coaching and became a part of a global community of people that talk about anything without shame. I began dating and exploring myself as a sexual being, feeling safe because I know how to protect myself. As a side note, bikinis used to be too scary for me to wear. So the one in the picture is the very first one that I ever bought and wore in my entire life. Step 4, Celebrate the shadow. Go all the way to the other end of the spectrum about that shadow. One of the most unexpected discovery of my shadow integration journey was that talking about sex openly made me irreverent, laughing hysterically, radiant, and playful. And I had other people tell me when they were talking about sex openly, they felt liberated and exhilarated. So I'm starting to create a community of successful people who talk about sex openly. My desire for this community is that we create healthy relationship with sex by talking about it openly, just like we already openly talk about careers, love, or food. After all of the 4-step shadow integration process was complete for me, one day I noticed that I was feeling in ways that I hadn't felt for a long time. It was that power that I knew I had, but I did not have access to. I knew I am worthy. I knew I am whole. And I knew this from the day I was born. But as I grew up, I had forgotten this knowing. And I was looking for it everywhere. It was hidden from me until I accepted my shadows as a part of me. I invite you to ask a question. What if you are a woman feeling burned out because you feel like you have to hide your feminine traits and then be more masculine, and then wanting to feel more authentically you in your personal and professional life? What if you're a woman who wants to feel more commanding and compelling at work, but feel terrified whenever men call you bossy, intimidating, mean, or demanding? What if you're a man with a successful career, but are submissive and kinky in the bedroom, and you spend a lot of energy trying to hide that part of yourself because you believe those parts of yourself are not lovable or respectable? What if those parts of yourself that you deny, suppress, or hide are actually the parts of you that make you beautiful, lovable, and irresistible? What if integrating the shadows is the way to shine your brightest light? Thank you.